Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are in the world, and welcome back to another author interview. And today we are so blessed to have with us Alison, Edgar, MBE. She's the author of 2 books. Her first book was The Secret of Successful Sales, which was an absolutely amazing success. And now her second book, which is the one we're going to talk about mostly today, is Smash It, the art of getting what you want. And there she is holding up the mug. So first of all, Alison.
Oh, hang on, I got that to work.
Yeah, if you move it across a little bit, we'll be able to see the cover. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes, there we go. Smash It. Look at the cover. I mean, it's amazing. It's a fantastic book. And first of all, welcome, Alison. Thank you so much for being with us today. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm brilliant, Richard. Thank you so much for having me. I'm literally buzzing because the book is coming out on the 1st of June. We're all on track. You know, it's out on all the platforms. The app is almost ready. The marketing plan is ready to launch. So I am absolutely buzzing. Is the best way I can describe it?
Love it, love it, love it. I love your energy. I've had the honor of getting an early copy of the book and I've read it and it is amazing. And as you said, the app as well, there's an app that goes with it. So we'll get to all that. But, you know, first of all, I just want to ask you, how does that come about? You know, give us a little flavor of your journey. How does a book like this come about?
So I think there's a wee bit missing from the bio. And I think that's the fact I'm dyslexic, Richard, because I think it's really interesting because obviously Smash It is around goal setting and, you know, getting what you want and how do you achieve that. And I didn't ever want to write one book, let alone 2. And I think it was because I, you know, for years had told myself that I can't write. And I think that's something that we all do in all, you know, different aspects of our life. Oh, I can't do that. And I think I'd used that as an excuse to not ever explore that as a talent. And then what happened was when it came to Secrets of Successful Sales, the team that worked with me, they used to come in and say, oh, I'm going to write a blog, Alison. I'm going to do this, Alison. I'm going to write that. And I'm going, oh, you crack on, girls, because I can't write. I can, like that, those words came out of my mouth. I can't write. And then one day I went, stop. Who's telling me I can't write? I'm telling myself that. Oh my goodness. So I decided to write a blog. That was the first thing. And I talk about sales and marketing being like golf and how sales put the ball in the hole and that's how you make money in business. And it went down a storm on LinkedIn. And I thought, actually, the way that I explain things, I've got a natural talent to explain things that people understand. And by thinking, well, if I don't write a book, I'm depriving those people of that message. And the other thing, at the same time as all this was going on, the business background is I've got a sales training company. So I own a sales training company. And there used to be funding, government funding that would part pay. And the government pulled the funding. So this was in 2015, 16, I think it was. And I thought, oh, the people that need me most from a sales perspective are the startups and the micro businesses, because they haven't got a clue. They don't come from a sales background. And if they don't sell, they don't have a business. So again, I felt it was my duty, you know, I had to help them. And, you know, and we'll probably talk about this later, you know, there's people that say, oh, I have to help these people, but ultimately they're just helping themselves. But for me, it was like, well, I've taken a year of my life to write this book and it did really well. So Secrets of Successful Sales, it was an Amazon #1 around the world, but it was a W.H. Smith top 10 business book. And I think, you know, you look at your life, Richard, don't you? And, you know, goal setting and things you want to achieve. But I can remember the day, I'm like getting quite emotional, the day that it went into W.H. Smith and people were taking photographs at airports and train stations. And I thought, I'm that wee lassie for the high flat at the top of the hill that people thought was really stupid and couldn't do it because nobody knew I was dyslexic. And it was such a poignant time for me to have that success with the book. And the Independent voted it the #1, not the #1, but in the top business books written by a woman of that year. So it just achieved so much success and quite overwhelming, not overwhelming, but you know, even when I talk about it now, you can see that I'm just like, wow, what actually happened? But what then happened off the back of that, people were reading Secrets of Successful Sales, and I was getting all these direct messages, Richard, from people going, oh, I love the book. It's, you know, it's changed the way I sell. It's changed my life. And I'm thinking, I never expected it to have that effect. But people were using it in their personal everyday life. So like it was the things like, I'm getting on better with my partner, I'm getting on better with my daughter. I've got much more time in my day. I bought a house and I saved a load of money on it, like everyday things. And I thought, oh, here comes the problem. I really need to, because normal, not that it sounds like odd, but the normal people, so people who are not in sales or in business, would never pick up secrets of successful sales. So again, I felt it was my duty to help more people. And there's case studies in the book of people who had used it. So we took their case studies, but not only that, I developed a methodology that, because I love a methodology. I love, you know, I feel if you've got a method and you can repeat the method, you're never going to be brilliant at it, but the method works, you'll get better results. And yeah, so that's how it came about. It really started off a while back, but it came into fruition in lockdown number 1. And interesting, again, as a dyslexic, Kaya Newnham, who used to work for me, she left, went traveling again with my blessing, was in Portugal. She came back in lockdown 1. She didn't have a job, and when everybody else was paying people off, furloughing people, I'm bringing them in. And I said, right, Kaya, come on, we're going to get this book done. And we did it in lockdown 1 and into lockdown 2. And then, yeah, the rest is history. And the feedback so far from the pre-reviews, like yourself, Richard, has been amazing, really good. I'm excited.
And I'm really intrigued. I don't actually know this story. So I'm aware, you know, obviously, Alison, Edgar, MBE, that you have helped a lot of small businesses. So tell us a little bit about how the MBE came about and hearing about that.
So you don't really know. Again, I think there's 2 routes. And again, this is just through the grapevine what I hear. There's like a fast track route. So let's say the year that I got my MBE, Sir Captain Tom got his knighthood, Marcus Rashford got his MBE, Joe Wicks got their MBEs. And you can, you know, if you've done something outstanding and it's quite notoriety, then it can sort of, it doesn't have to, it can fast track really. Then there's the more traditional route where somebody would nominate you. And I didn't even know I had been nominated. So the nomination comes, so you could get an MBE for services to allotments or marrow growing, or, you know, so, and this is the great thing about the honours system, that it actually honours everyday people rather than just the people with notoriety. And, you know, I can tell you off the record, just between you and I and the viewers and listeners, that when Kaya and I were back, so as soon as lockdown 1 started to ease, we had to work together on the book remotely. And lockdown 1, I think it was the June or the July, you were allowed to work in gardens. And Kaya then and I were working in the garden. And again, I am quite easily distracted. So how we work is I write, she edits, sometimes I'll speak, she'll take the words, we write it together kind of thing. It's a, you know, I mention her as the co-conspirator because that's how it gets the ideas out of my head. And I got distracted, Richard. Honestly, I got distracted. And I was sitting at the table and I thought, I'll just have a wee look at my email. And this email came in from the Cabinet Office. Wow. Now, that's not unusual because I do work, you know, I work with Number 10. I work with, you know, some of the scale ups. I've, you know, I do quite a lot in that space. So that coming from the Cabinet Office was not unusual. But when I opened it, it literally said, look, the Queen, the Prime Minister and the Honours Department or whatever it is have given you an honour. And but the only thing is it's really confidential. You're not allowed to tell MD, like, you know, it's just that you're not allowed to say. So I broke into tears, complete and utter hysterical tears. And Kaya said, what's wrong? And she goes, has Auntie June died? And if you know the first book, Auntie June's like the surrogate mum, and my mum's from a big family, so when one of the mums die, you get another one that just takes the place, one of the sisters. So she said, oh, Auntie June. And I was like, all right, okay. And I said, no. And I said, I need you to read this email and just check it's true. So she read it. She went, yeah, you've got an honour. She goes, but I knew that last week because I nominated you 3 years ago and the honours department contacted me last year. So again, it's interesting that it took 3 years to get that through the system, which is, I think, the normal route, but it's well worth it. You know, it's just lovely to be honoured.
You said there, you know, just any normal person can get an MBE, you know, and I can tell of yours, you're definitely not just any normal person. That is for sure, you know, and you even alluded to it there, you know, the work you've done, number 10 and the cabinet office and businesses and all the rest of it. And that's definitely what I pick up, you know, from the book and things. So
yeah, but I think the important thing with that is, Richard, like you know, I didn't start my business till I was 46, and I started with no customers, no connections, absolutely nothing. I mean, literally just an idea and a thought. So I think that's where the difference lies, that, you know, it may look on paper that, oh yeah, you know, oh look at her, she's been to Downing Street, oh look at her, she's been to Buckingham Palace, but I never even wanted to start a business. I made those things happen in my life, and it's because, you know, I practice what I teach. I set goals, I look for, you know, a strategy to get to where I want to go. And that's another reason that I wrote Smashed It. You know, what qualifies me to write a book about smashing it, the art of getting what you want? Well, I'm notorious for always getting what I want, and not in a shouty, jumping up and down, give me what I want way, but I've got really good strategies to achieve my goals. And that's why I felt I had to share that with people, because if I can, you know, if somebody's sitting there drowning, what are you going to do? Walk past them and go by? Are you going to throw them a lifeline? Well, you're going to throw them a lifeline, aren't you? And I think that's what I've, you know, part of the purpose for writing that is to help people that are not so fortunate, or their lives aren't going so well, or, you know, things have happened out with their control, and just help them get back on track again.
wow, so inspirational, even that in itself. And I know I'm definitely going to be a very willing guinea pig for the book and the app. But you mentioned there you didn't start your business till 46. So just in a nutshell, what did you do up until that point?
So I left school at 16, and my background was hospitality. So I was, again, and I think this is another thing, that I've always known my strengths, and I've always played to the strengths rather than, you know, trying to, again, I work on my weaknesses, don't get me wrong, but I think if I just keep playing to what I'm really good at, I can just keep improving all the time. And that led me to working in Sydney, Cape Town, California, the Channel Islands, and, you know, really embracing what I love. I love working with people. That then allowed me to work in corporate sales. So I worked in corporate sales for, you know, nearly 20 years, which again, I think helps me when I wrote the book, that it's not just like hypothetical, it's what I did and what the top performers did. So, and then one of the things that's fundamental, if you don't believe in something, you can't sell it. And it was just the company I'd worked with hadn't changed at the same pace that I would have wanted them to change at. And that's when I decided I didn't have a clue what I was going to do. And if you're in doubt, you phone a friend. You know, it's like, who wants to be a millionaire? So I phoned my friend Lorraine, who I went to school with and worked in hospitality with. And she said, oh, that's really easy. You're going to set up your own business to teach people to sell the way that you sell. And I went, job done, that's it. Next day, the domain name was registered, the website was started. And, you know, I was working and setting up the business so that I call it seesawing the money, making sure there was money coming in from the business before I jacked in my job, so that I wasn't under pressure to do anything. So yeah, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Brilliant. Love it, love it, love it. And yeah, I thought of that when I was reading the book about all the travel and hospitality. And yeah, we definitely have that in common. So I'm sure you've so many stories from those days alone, you know, in terms of all the people you've met and things. But let's talk about the book itself. So Smash It, the art of getting what you want. And for me, like, let me say, you know, obviously I've read quite a number of personal development books and things. I want to ask you about this. There's a whole different slant in this book. And I really want to encourage the people listening to this that if you think you've read all the personal development books and, you know, read all the theories, you definitely haven't. Because what I loved about this was this idea of selling to yourself. So can you talk a little bit about that? Like how, you know, it obviously suits with your selling background, but without giving everything away, you know, about that. But can you tell us a bit about that? You know, how did that idea come about? It's absolute. I use this word lightly. Obviously, it's genius. It really is. It's not out there in any other book.
Well, do you know? I think so. I think there's 2 points in that, Richard. I think the first part is it is a personal development book, right? I agree, and it was intentionally written for non-business people who want to improve their life, right? So that's who the book is for. But I've never read a personal development book in my life. I've never done any personal development. But what I have done is spent a lot of years in hospitality and sales. And you know, it comes from the knowledge of the first book. The stuff that I teach works, right? I mean, I've got thousands of testimonials, but ultimately, this is when I was writing Smash It. I think I discovered the meaning of life, and I believe that everything is a sale. And the reason that I can't mention, you'll know that I don't actually mention anything to do with sales until the last paragraph, because if I bring it in at the start of the book, people go, I'm not in sales. Oh, I don't want to read that book. That's not applicable to me. And ultimately, you know, we spend a lot of time on Clubhouse, don't we, Richard? And I'm thinking every single thing that we do is a sale, but people just hate sales. And again, I believe it comes back to the fear of rejection, you know, in the brain trying to protect itself. And these are the things that when I was writing the book, I had to work out, why do people think like that? Why is that? Why? And obviously, you know, from the book, questioning technique is one of the most important things in life. But so many people don't know that. So that's what sort of drove it. But I can't mention, we can't mention anything to do with sales, because people won't buy the book because they'll think, oh, that's not applicable to me. I'm not in sales. But if you can converse, you can convince. And, you know, the book, as you know, is split into two levels. There's the me thing. So if you want to take up running, or you want to lose weight or stop smoking or whatever, actually you have to sell that to yourself. And that's the thing that I think is, if you say genius, I'll take that on the chin. But I don't know any other books that have got that, it's delivered in that shape, the way that I've managed to create it. And then the other thing is, if you're looking to, again, settle down, or you're looking to buy a house with somebody or get a job promotion, that's a we thing. And again, there's that wee pun on the Scottish thing, the Celtic thing that we say we. So it's a sort of double side in there. But the methodology also works if somebody else is involved. And honestly, this is the thing. People think to get what you want, you need to be shouty or angry, and it's actually quite the reverse. It's understanding the behaviors and following the method. And again, I know that people have, because again, I've been exposed to a lot of this personal development stuff on Clubhouse that in my whole 53 years, I've never known in my whole life, you know? So, and I think actually that's what I've said in the book. So I know that the book is on the right track. So yeah, thank you so much for your lovely comments. I'm glad you like it.
You mind if we have a wee bit of fun with that? So let's say for somebody, I feel this could be really valuable for somebody listening, you know? So we could use like my garage, for example. My garage needs tidying out, right? It really needs tidying out. And I moved into my house last August, so it's not far off a year, and I haven't touched the garage since. How did I get started doing that? And I think that's a good
I love that. And you know that you're accountable to me for that now, Richard, don't you? So first of all, you've got to ask yourself why you want, because it's like, is it a me thing or a we thing, right? So that's a me thing, unless you can rope somebody in to help you. But why do you want to clear the garage? Because without knowing that knowledge, then you're never going to do it. So why do you want to clear it?
Yeah, because I just want it to be tighter. I want it to be organized. I want to feel better. I don't want to be waking up thinking, shit, I need to clean the garage. You know,
I don't think that's strong enough for you to do it. So that's my, like, I feel like we're on a coaching session now, but I don't think that's strong enough. Just because you want it to be tidy and have a tidy mind, well, there's something that's stopping you from doing that. So if your why was, well, you know what, there's a lot of stuff in there that I could sell on eBay and make a few quid, and then I could give it to charity, or I could do whatever. That's the why you do it.
Right, there is.
And or actually, do you know what, there's some photographs in there that I really want to frame, so that I've got really good memories of my traveling. You know, I loved when I lived in Australia. I wish I could revisit that more often, right? If I tidy the garage, then my sort of reward for that is this. And I think that's where
all those pictures are in the messy spare bedroom. That's a totally different subject.
But I do think it's that, because you know, the first thing is taking that step. So my goal, and again, we talk about SMART, which again, these are not new, but people in business use them all the time. But if you're not being exposed to that in business, you wouldn't know what a SMART objective is. So I specifically want to have every box in that garage emptied, folded, or sold within the next 2 months. So what are we at today? The 25th of May, whatever it is, 26th of May. I want to have that done by the 26th of June. So what I'm going to do is this week, I'm going to empty 3 boxes. And then next week, what I'm going to do is 4 boxes, and then it will all be done. And, you know, having that thought, and then there'll be some days you go, you know what, I can't be bothered today. I just, and again, that's normal. That's normal in every aspect. It's normal if you want to go running, lose weight, blah, blah, blah. You lose the momentum. And then you say, right, okay, I set myself a target. I was going to give £100 to Mind charity. I know like some, you know, those charities are really close to your heart. So I need to set that. And then on the day where you think, oh, you know what, I might just go for a walk today. I haven't done that. You would focus and then you would get it done. So I think it's having that, knowing why you want to do it, because it's not because you want a tidy garage. I don't believe you want that, or you would have done it over the last year, but you would care about giving that money to charity. So I think you're focusing on the wrong reason.
Love it. That'll help so many people, and I'm willing to accept that is absolutely true, 100%.
I want to see the empty garage photos by the 26th of June, or whatever date you decide. Again, that's the thing. It's your goals. It's nothing to do with me. I can give you the methodology, and you know the benefits of having the garage empty is not only would the charity get that, but actually you could sublet it and get somebody to put their car in it, or you could put your car in it. It'll reduce your house insurance. You know, there's loads of things in there. But if you follow the method, you know, the smash it method, then you get the results.
Brilliant. Love it. And you've just demonstrated there, you know, how helpful you are, how genuine you are, you know, and how you've helped so many people. So the other thing that I'm really, really impressed by, so you told me when whenever we spoke about the book, you said, oh, by the way, there's an app as well. And I'm so blessed as well, I suppose, to have seen the app the last couple of days, and it's early stages. Well, it's not early stages at all. To me, it looks as if it's all completely ready to go. And it is so impressive. And
thank you. That's so
cool. Again, it's, never seen anything like it for free as well at this time, for totally for free. Mm-hmm. So tell us a bit about that. Like how did the idea for the app come about? And just tell us a bit about that.
So I think it was really interesting when I was doing the statistics for the book. One of the things that really grabbed me and made me know that I had to write this during the pandemic was, according to Inc. magazine. So it's a statistic I found online. You know, there's probably, it's quite a weak source, I would say, but it really grabbed me and my attention that according to Inc. magazine, written in 2018, the article that only 8% of people hit their goals. That's awful, isn't it? 92% of people. And again, I think the other thing that really helped me come to the conclusion, because I've invested in the app, and as you say, it's a free app. So there's no upsell at the end. There's no run to the back. There's no buy my program that you're going to make millions. There's none of that nonsense, because if you genuinely care about other people, then you don't have to have all that stuff going on at the back end, if that makes sense. But I thought, how, you know, from the stuff that I hear on Clubhouse, again, from people that have invested in personal development, they spend the money and then they don't take any action. So why do they not take that action? Is it they're not ready, or, you know, why is that? And I think the reason is, if you read a book, you know, you kind of read it and then it evaporates. It's a wee bit like training. Considering I run a training company, you know, sales training company, if I do a day's training, at the end of that, if I went back a week later and I go, what do you remember? They're only going to remember 20%. It evaporates. It's like a puddle in the hot sun. It's gone. And that's what I think about reading books on personal development. So how can I make that stick? Well, and this is my vision, right? This is, I hope somebody does this as a goal. And, you know, you can add photos in there, you can comment, we've got a sort of social feed on it. That, say you said, I really want to take up running, for example, or, oh, I'm not quite sure, I think I might want running, or I don't know. I don't really know. And I think that's common. Loads of people don't really know what they want. I envisage somebody walking down Embankment in London, you know, that bit where the London Eye is, you know, the London Eye's at the other side. It's like you go past like the Houses of Parliament and all that down there. And it's crammed with like rollerbladers or runners or people walking their dogs. Or, you know, it's just, I love that spot. It's one of my favourite spots. And I find like that's for me quite an inspirational place to be. Other people, it might be the beach, it might be the forest or whatever. But that's when you decide. The goals come to you when they're ready, not when the book tells you. But by the time you then would get back, get the book, write it down, put it in your notes, it evaporates. Whereas if you think, you know what? See, when I was 8 years old, I was a champion skateboarder or a rollerblader. I love my rollerblades. That brings me great pleasure. I would love to go back and rollerblade. and you see somebody there on their rollerblades, you take that photo and then you put that in your vision board. That's why I created the app, because it gives you that flexibility and it will help people achieve more. And so that was the reason that I decided to invest. And I've invested in the app. It's not, there's no monetization at this stage. You might be able to pay a subscription, £8 a month or something like that eventually. But at the moment, it's there for free so that people can really just smash their goals.
Brilliant. I absolutely love it. So let's talk, obviously we're not going to name and shame anybody at all. We're not here to do that, but let's talk about that, your experience of coming onto Clubhouse, seeing this big, bad world, often bad, sometimes good, world of, coaching and very high-end, highly priced programs. And you're somebody who, in my mind, and there's many others like you on Clubhouse, we mentioned some of them before the call, who've actually built bricks and mortar businesses. You have the track record, you have the experience. So what was your initial thought whenever you came across this world of people who maybe don't have the bricks and mortar business but are selling these huge programs? What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that my business is bricks and mortar. It's still service industry, but I think it's more of a traditional, not. So I'd probably say the difference is that my clients tend not to be coaches. So I think there's a difference in itself. So my clients, and again, I talk about some of them in the book and especially in the previous book because they've used the method. So I work with a lot of entrepreneurial people, not in the coaching space. So I think that's the difference. A lot of the coaches that you see on Clubhouse or that hit the Facebook feed are you a coach? Or a trainer or a speaker or an author, and you want to make 7 figures? Well, just spend a shed load of money with me so that I make my 7 figures. And then I don't really care what you do. So, that's not how I roll. So I'll give you an example, and, talking about 7 figures, one of the young entrepreneurs that I work with. So again, I meet them like I won GB Entrepreneur of the Year Award, special merit for service, whatever year that was. And I'm also in the Hall of Fame for the GB Entrepreneur of the Year, and I judge it. And I met, again, some stonking entrepreneurial people. And I met Simon, I think it was 2015, Richard. And we were kind of the last 2 standing. And a lot of my entrepreneurs that I work with are young. So they're all in their sort of 20s. I'm in my 50s. And we're great friends. I think this is the thing. And Simon's business, he's a civil engineer. So he's got a civil engineering business, which does like flood surveys. He was flooded as a young boy, and that's his passion. That's why he set up, that's why he moved in there, so that he doesn't, nobody has to go through the flood experience that he went through as a child. And he also sells pumps. So again, if you've been flooded, you can buy a pump and all that sort of stuff, and flood barriers. So again, a lot of the people on Clubhouse wouldn't be dealing with people like that because they're only dealing with coaches, and you've got the same method that they teach people to teach other coaches to get to 7 figures, so that other coaches can teach other coaches, so that other coaches can teach, it's like a big hamster wheel, whereas most of my clients are not in the coaching industry. And one of my most special moments, when Simon hit the 7 figures turnover, the turnover was higher, but when the first 7 figures were in the bank, he took his wee picture of his like £1 million bank statement and he sent it to 2 people. The first one was his mum and the second one was me. Brilliant. That's what's special for me. That's why I do it. It's not so that I haven't got a 7-figure turnover business. I'll put my hand up. That's, factual. So how can I teach somebody to have a 7-figure coaching business when I've not got one myself? So I think that's where the difference lies with that. And I think it's knowing your truth, your honor, and not bullshitting. And so many people are just bullshitting. And another interesting thing that, coming back to what you said about the book, that, somebody said to me in a Clubhouse room recently, something about why you've got a different take on things, and like you said, or some of the way that the take is genius. And I'm thinking, well, it's because I haven't been contaminated by that space and learning other people's methods. You know what I mean? So a lot of people will go on, and when they're asked a question, like say they're on a moderator panel, they can only answer through somebody else's eyes. So they'll quote like Tony Robinson says this, or Ziggy Ziglar says this, or whatever it is, these names that they do, and they come out with, they said this, they said that. They don't come up with their own lines. Whereas because I've never read anybody else's lines, when I've got an opinion on something, it's Alison Edgar's opinion, not anybody else's opinion. And I think that's the way I like it. That's why I think that's my differentiator from a lot of people that are in the personal development space.
I love it. I love it. And just one thing this brings to mind that made me laugh, that's in your bio, as people will be able to tell from your accent, you're Scottish originally, now living in England, and you said Clydebank. So remind me, Clydebank is famous for three things.
It has three things. The first one is the QE2, so like the shipbuilding side of things. The other one is Singer Sewing Machines, which is like the big brand. And of course, the third one has got to be Wet, Wet, Wet. I can even throw in a fourth one. I can even give you Duncan Bannatyne, the second most famous MBE from Clydebank. Only joking, Duncan, only joking. But it's a hardy working class area. It really struggled in the 80s when music was hard. Wet, Wet, Wet really stepped in there, only joking. But they lost all the employment when all the shipbuilding went off to China. And the same with the manufacturer of the Singer Sewing Machines. Clydebank had it really hard. It was a tough area to grow up in. And one of the things that's, again, really interesting, people say to me, so who's your inspiration, Alison? And, what helps and inspires you? Well, you've read the book. Alison Campbell and Raymond inspired me. And that's like the first teen mum from my year at school. I'm not in the words of Shania Twain, like, that don't impress me much. All that big name, big stuff doesn't mean they're happy. They might have money, but they're not happy, or they might be bullshit and they've got money. I'm impressed by the everyday kind of person. That, it's interesting because Addie's on Clubhouse and she talks about the everyday message for the everyday person or whatever, but it's the people that do inspirational things without even knowing they've done it that inspire me, rather than going out of their way to be inspirational. That's so
brilliant. And we talked about this previously as well, but one of the things that refreshed my soul, let's say, also about the book was, it's very easy for people to see somebody with an MBE and a very successful business and a big profile and think, well, it's okay for her, she hasn't been through the struggles that I've been through. But in the book, you share some really personal struggles. And I'll admit, my soul kind of breathed a sigh of relief and said, wow, Alison's just like us. She really is just like the rest of us. So that was really, really refreshing. So do you mind if we talk just briefly about, the story you mentioned in particular, and you go into it in real detail. So obviously encourage people to go and read it, but is about depression, about your experience of depression. And I certainly identified for my journey with that, and other people will. So do you mind just telling us a tiny little bit about that and how you got through it?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because if I was to run a sweep, I love a wee flutter on the horses, Richard, right? I do love a wee flutter on the horses. And if I was to run a sweep prior to my second son being born, if I'd ever suffered from depression, I'd have given that like 1,000 to 1 chance. I'd have thought, my God, no, that's never going to happen to me. I'm too resilient. I'm too buoyant. But it can happen to anybody at any time, and especially when you least expect it. And I didn't even know. I just knew that life wasn't. It was just really tough. And I can remember, it's really interesting, like looking at the bits of the book that I can remember writing. I can actually do. I'm even, again, I get quite. I'm quite an emotional person anyway. I love a bit of emotion, but I can remember writing that part, and I had to kind of write it. There's a couple of poignant bits of things that I feel make me relatable, and I wrote them kind of through a narrative. It was easier for me to write it as a narrative. But the emotions of how I felt at that time, and the other thing is I've actually narrated the audio book, Richard, so not only written that part of the book, but I had to narrate it. And touch wood, again, as a dyslexic, reading is not one of my strengths, but I was working with this amazing guy, and he knew, because he, like you, he knew what was coming, when it was coming, and how I was going to react to it. And we had to just do a lot of breathing to try and stay calm, because it just brings it all flooding back. And what I try to do is, you know, I cover how I felt, but I try to bring everything back to the reader, in that, you know, if this is you reading this and you feel like this right now, you know, there are coping mechanisms, and I share the coping mechanisms that I used, but please reach out to somebody. And again, it's the same thing, like we've got a similar message in that place, having, you know, known part of your story, Richard, that you've already been through that yourself. And, you know, please, if anybody is, please reach out. And, you know, one of the things in our family, we've had 2 young male suicides, you know, 2 completions, young boys in their 20s. And, you know, please reach out, because there is hope, there is purpose, there is another end. And that's what I wanted, that part. Because I've never shared that with anybody, not never shared it with anybody. It's not that I'm ashamed, but I didn't put it in the first book. I didn't think it was relevant, but I think it was to make, and it wasn't a sympathy. It's not, none of the stuff in this is a sympathy chapter. It's just so that I understand you, I get you, and it's okay. There is another end, and, you know, I'm an example of how you can come out at that other end. So hopefully that, you know, explains why that's in there, and what I was looking at. I'm getting emotional now, but what I wanted is the output for it.
Brilliant. No, I like, yeah, that chapter is for me, you know, it's really key, like, for all the reasons that you just said. So yeah, brilliant. And thank you for everybody for putting that in there, for sure, because it does make it so much more relatable. So there's another thing, let's lighten it up a little bit. There's another thing that I've heard you talk about a bit, and it's obviously in the book as well. And that's in terms of time management, juggling activities. Alison, Edgar's big balls. Let's talk about your balls.
I love the big balls. You know, so
it's going to go, what the heck are you?
I know, but, you know, so the big balls, and this is the interesting thing, because I am anticipating the readers of the second book won't all have read the first book. So it's obviously in both the books, but I felt it's such an important thing, because time, Richard, time is the biggest thief of everything, isn't it? I don't have to, again, I bet you if I said to you about your garage, oh, I don't have time to do that garage, Alison, you know, I don't have time. We use time as an excuse. So I try and, you know, negate that excuse by giving you a system that will help you create time. And it's interesting as well, you know, coming back to personal development and people's methodologies. And again, another book that I quote, I've seen the videos, I haven't read the book, is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. And, you know, people love that book, but actually his rocks in the jar kind of thing, and you can have a beer with friends, it's all based on the Eisenhower quadrant. And the Eisenhower quadrant was probably based on something way back when, even before that. So there's nothing really new kind of around this stuff. It's just, you know, sometimes it's translating it into something you understand. And I didn't understand the Eisenhower quadrant, right? Important, urgent, not important, not urgent. I mean, what is that? It's all gobbledygook, because what's important and urgent to you, to me, could be not important and not urgent. It's messy. I don't like messy. Again, God help me, I'm not coming to look at your garage, Richard. I don't like messy. I like things to be in order. So I translated it into something that's urgent and important is a basketball. And again, this happens in business, it happens in sales, you know, it's something that happens all the time. And, you know, take, for example, birthdays, right? So I talk about basketballs, tennis balls, and ping pong balls. So if your birthday had been, you know, where are we now? This is May. So if your birthday was in April, like your next birthday is a ping pong ball. It's miles off. Yeah. But then if you get to like January, February, that's a tennis ball. I should really be thinking about what I'm going to get you as a present. And then the week before or the day before, it's a basketball. And people, if you get into basketball mode, a basketball in the face is really sore. You get into firefighting mode, and then it swallows your time as well. And so many people don't have their balls in order, Richard. So if they look at the tasks, and again, I'm completely anti a linear to-do list. I believe people shouldn't have a linear to-do list, because human nature, we just do the things we like. Again, your garage is a prime example. I'm glad you brought that one up. But like that garage has been on there for a year, and you just kept it on that list. And what will happen is one day something will happen and you think, oh, I want to give that money to charity. And then you'll be scrambling around trying to do that. Whereas if you did it when it was a ping pong ball or a tennis ball, it would have been done already. So again, Alison Edgar's Big Balls helps you to build time in, because ultimately that's helps you smash it and hit your goals.
I love it. Absolutely brilliant. And definitely, I'm so glad I brought up the garage as well. I regretted it a little bit, but I'm glad for the viewer and listener, because it's definitely, hopefully, put things in perspective a bit. And also this idea of the charity, that's really motivating. It is. It's, that's really motivating for sure. So all about the why. So, this has been absolutely an amazing conversation. Let's go back to the book in general and your goal. Now you have
this book, this Smash It, The Art of Getting What You Want.
That's the book. That is the book. Let's talk about it. And is it already? It is already a bestseller. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, I mean, so
amazing. It's not even out yet.
It's gone up to bestseller twice already. Like 5 weeks out, it was on bestseller. And it's changed from the first book to the second book. It used to only get to bestseller when it launched, but they've changed it. Amazon's changing the way that it works all the time. But yeah, it's already Amazon bestseller 5 weeks before launch. And then last week it went back up. So yeah, it's, but the thing with a book, sometimes it takes a wee while to get that momentum behind it, because you want people to buy it. But Richard, the words that you told me today about your thoughts on having read the book, that's when the magic happens. It's not just about getting it to bestseller, it's about the impact. And that's why I've written this book, isn't to have a little orange flag and say, oh, look at me, I'm an Amazon bestseller. It's to make impact in people's lives. And that doesn't happen straight away. That will take them, this is an ongoing project. And especially, once you've cleared the garage, you're going to have another goal, Richard. We need to get that on your app. And then, your app will make you accountable to that. And then eventually you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this and this. And then when you feel that positivity around, smashing it, then again, a little bit like the method we talked about with depression, the thoughts equals the feelings and the feelings equals the behavior. If you can flip that, you'd just be smashing it all the time.
Brilliant. Love it. That's for sure. I'm a very willing guinea pig for trying it all. Not just there's probably a couple more basketball type things as well that definitely I'm going to use for sure. And what about what's next? Like you talked there about, it's an ongoing project. The world is starting to open up again. I'm sure you'll be back on stages pretty soon speaking. And what have you got in the pipeline? What's your kind of plans?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting, because if you look at the speaking stuff, that's really how I monetize, if that makes sense. So I don't have to focus too much on getting people to run to the back of the room and teaching coaches to make 7 figures, because I can speak, my corporate clients include Discovery Channel, Sky, European Commission, and they get me to go in and talk at their events, and that's how I monetize. And I don't need to have a 7-figure business because I'm a service industry. I've got a team that work for me. They all get paid. Everybody's happy. We run a little tight ship and we enjoy what we do. And I think, again, that's really, really important. So the plan, sorry, Richard.
Go ahead and interrupt. The likes of those clients, so you go in and talk primarily about sales, is it? Is that your...
No, actually, believe it or not, and this is the next book, I talk about entrepreneurship. So to get their employees to think like entrepreneurs. And the methodology is, what would I do if it was my first day? So the first day mindset, really keeping people happy in their jobs and their role and productive. What would I do if it was my granny? So like looking at how we treat people, because again, coming back to Alison Edgar's Big Balls, it's the disparity of the balls that people fall out either with customers or with internal customers. And somebody's basketball is somebody else's ping pong ball, and it breaks the communication. So that's another thing I speak about. And then the other one is, what would I do if it was my business? So really looking at coming up with fertile soil to grow new ideas to improve the way that people organizations work. So that's the kind of day job, Richard. That's where and because the world was shut for a year, it gave me a chance to just smash it, help other people, and also now just take the speaking stuff onto another level. So that's the new book, will be around that. When I I'm not in any rush to write it. It's still a sort of tennis ball at the moment, but it will be moving into ping pong basketball soon.
And would it be right in saying that this book, Smash It, you know, a lot of that in it is applicable because, you know, applicable to the corporates as well, because as you mentioned, the health aspect, you know, whatever that thing may be, even someone cleaning their garage will enhance their performance at work. So
oh, completely. But again, so I'm going to, because we're nearly finishing, so I'm going to repeat our secret. Everything we do is a sale. If we can converse, we can convince. And that's why the smash it method works. It works at your work. It works in your personal life. It works in your relationships. It works about cleaning the garage. I promise you, like, you know, I can put my hand on heart to say that I know that it works, because not only do I use it myself, but my clients have been using it for years. I just translated it into something that's effective for people, that for everybody in everyday life.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to agree with you. I think earlier in the call you said, you know, your gift for sure is taking something and explaining it in a way that people really understand. And the balls is a memorable and prime example of that. So that's brilliant. I can see exactly why you're invited on to those stages, you know, to explain the concepts to people for sure. So tell us now, as you say, we're about to wrap up, as people will understand. You're a very, very busy person, and you know, you've lots going on, especially now coming up to the launch. So tell us, where can people find you? Obviously, they can find the book on all the usual places, but tell us a bit more about where they can find you if they think they want to connect or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite easy to find on that Google thing, Richard. If you just Google Alison Edgar MBE, I kind of swamp it under my own name. But definitely, like Instagram, it's at the Alison Edgar. Same as Twitter, all the socials are at the Alison Edgar. On LinkedIn is probably one of my main platforms. And the book is available on WH Smith, Waterstones, all of the big platforms, either in stores, you can order it, or online, and of course Amazon around the world. So yeah, it's again not, I don't, one of my sort of mantras is, why would you blend in when you can stand out? And I think that's where I'm not hard to find, I'm easy to find.
Brilliant. And remind us again, what is the actual day that the book is being launched?
1st of June, Tuesday the 1st of June. So it's interesting because, again, even all those people that have pre-ordered it to get it to #1 on Amazon still haven't got a copy. You're in the minority, Richard. There's not many people that have actually got a copy to read yet. So I just love your lovely feedback. And of course, I would love a little Amazon review. Don't forget the Amazon reviews.
We'll be getting that for sure. Actually, do you know, believe it or not, I tried to do that yesterday, but I realized it's not possible until...
Yeah, you can't do that until the 1st. You can only put the reviews up on the 1st. So on the 1st, that would be wonderful. You could be the first review. I can share that and then get you some more traction around our call today.
Brilliant. Love it. And absolutely, you know, as I said, I'm a willing guinea pig, because the concept, you know, I was just taken aback by that, because to be perfectly honest, as you said, you know, a lot of personal development people, they quote the old books, the really old personal development stuff. This isn't like that. It's new. So I really want to encourage listeners, everybody watching, go and get it. Just go and get it. Smash it. You know, that's really what we want to say. So Alison, I just want to leave you with, or let you have the parting words. What would you say to somebody right now who's thinking...
I learned from Microsoft Update Assistant.
I wouldn't say that. I don't know how that's doing that, Richard. I'm really sorry. What I would say, don't go to the Microsoft Update Assistant. I would say go to Amazon, go to the bookstores, and don't forget to smash it.
Brilliant. Love it, Alison. Thank you so much from everybody watching and listening, and we'll chat very soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.